And we're back. It's the third time I'm recording an episode. And thank you for listening. I've got a few followers, a few likes, a few blah, blah, blahs, whatever you're looking for when you're hosting a podcast. You know, all those things just really mean that you're engaging with people. So that's what I'm trying to do. And again, I got to give myself the permission to be a beginner, right? I've always loved that quote. Allow yourself to be a beginner. I don't know who said it, but it is true, especially for me when I'm launching a podcast. So, just a reminder to you as you embark on your Tuesday, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, remember, allow yourself to be a beginner, just like me. I have no idea what I'm doing, but guess what? I'm learning one podcast episode at a time. And with the lovely and constructive and amazing feedback from my friends and family so far. So, thank you for that. Little shout out to Nikki Schumann, who in my last episode mentioned that I was talking a little bit close to the microphone. So we're going to make an adjustment here, Nikki. You better listen to this and let me know if it's better. Okie dokie. So another one of my friends, Ashita, who actually bought me this microphone and inspired me to actually take the leap. Love you, Ashita. You're amazing. She had some great feedback after my second episode. And she asked if it might be worth kind of talking more about what adversity is and the different types, and whether obviously there's many, many degrees of adversity. A lot of cities in this adversity podcast. Anywho, there's varying degrees of adversity from your everyday stuff, sort of the small stuff that we sweat, to real legit adversity that is very serious and difficult to get through. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of dive into a really cool blog post that I'm going to link to in the show notes. So anything I talk about or reference or am inspired by, I'm going to link to in these show notes. So I was looking around about adversity and kind of researching, how many different types are there? Is this classified in a certain way, when people are studying adversity? And I found a really cool blog post on simplicable.com. And it really talks about, I saw the headline and I was like, whoa, 55 examples of adversity. So I'm going to link to that blog post so you can check it out. It's a really good one. But I was honestly just shocked to see that there were this many, and it really did make sense to me. And it just reminded me that there's so many slices of that and stories that come from these different types of adversity that it's just difficult to deal with, right? So let's cite Simplicable's definition of adversity. So adversity is a sustained difficulty or problem faced by an individual or group. This denotes a problem that is above the regular challenges of the human experience, such that adversity may put you at a disadvantage to others. Adversity can be structural and systematic, or a result of misfortune, such as an injury. The following are common examples of adversity. So I'm not going to go through all 55 because I am going to link to this and you can dive into this awesome blog post here. But I will name a few. If I'm going down here, we got addiction, being fired or terminated, having a disability, which, looking at that now, disabilities in recent years have been rightfully kind of examined, and that disabilities are not necessarily disabilities, right? People with different abilities and sort of those special needs, that's a whole different ballgame as far as, adversity and just what someone with special needs is going through. And we are going to bring some people on in the future that know about navigating that really, challenging situation, but it can be a beautiful thing to really connect with people with special needs and such a wonderful community. So just wanted to give a shout out there. Other kinds of adversity, family conflict, obviously, right? Every family has different sets of things that they go through at different phases of life, and just kind of how to navigate that along the way. fear or anxiety is a type of adversity. I personally, I've had anxiety since I was young. It's been a double-edged sword. It pushed me to do well in sports and play at a high level, and like I did well in school and all that, but ooh, that could take me down, anxiety, and it still does from time to time. So I have to manage that daily with different coping mechanisms. Shout out to the Anxiety Toolkit podcast, Kimberly Queenlin. Amazing. Check that one out. Another one, let's see, among the 55 examples of adversity or types of adversity, loss of a loved one. Don't we all understand the pain of that? Whether it's a family member, a friend, a pet, particularly a pet, right? That unconditional love. I think all of us have dealt with the loss of a loved one at some point in our lives. And that's just something that we kind of have to learn, that grieving process and how to get through that. Mental health challenges, another type of adversity. This one's close to my heart, having just, a very active mind. Excuse me, I'm like choking as I say that. A very active mind that never stops. I have to just make sure that I'm, getting sleep, getting water, getting exercise, just going offline every once in a while. And part of my mental health journey has been like being open, right? Being open about anxiety that I struggle with. Even though I'm super extroverted and, hyper without coffee, trust me, I am in my head a lot. So Adventures in Adversity is coming from that perspective as well, that I have definitely navigated mental health challenges, and just would love to hear inspiring stories from all of you about how you've done the same. Other types of adversity, gosh, there's so many. It's kind of sad, but the good news is we can get through it. Work-related stress, financial struggles, hugely, hugely stressful in this modern day and age, right? Where it's everybody, not everybody. I shouldn't say everybody, nobody. A lot of people are very materialistic. I myself try to put myself kind of in the middle. I like nice things, but it doesn't like rule my world. But I am human, and it's nice to have comfy things and all that stuff. But when you have financial issues too, like how do you get through that? What do you tell yourself? How do you calm your nervous system? How do you kind of overcome adversity when you're trying to pay off debt and grow your salary and find jobs in a tough market and all that? So we're going to have a whole career section on that. Gosh, I could go on and on. I'm going to just take a few more minutes. So another one, regret type of adversity. Gosh, I'll get into this story. One regret that comes to mind for me, played softball in college, and honestly, I quit like halfway through my third season. So that's a whole thing I still dream about sometimes. We'll get into that in another episode on athlete PTSD. No, I'm kidding. No, not really. Just, regret on decisions you made, things you did or didn't do. Definitely some adversity there, and some hopefully stories we can share here on how to get through those kinds of things. Physical limitations, geographic isolation or challenges, loneliness. We're surrounded by people and surrounded by apps and devices, but I think a lot of people, especially post-COVID, experience a lot of loneliness. So what stories can we tell in this podcast to kind of help you get through that? To know that, if you're lonely now, it doesn't mean you're going to be lonely forever. I just had a really interesting thought too. I'm recording this in a room in my guest bedroom, which is now my new office. And oh gosh, I definitely had some low moments in this room. It's kind of funny. One of my little personal breakdowns I've had in my life happened in this room. And I just remember not feeling great and not really ever thinking things were going to be great again. And it's really interesting to be recording this podcast and feeling so good in the same spot. So just another testament to, you can overcome your shit one day at a time, one step at a time. All right, guys, I think I've babbled a little bit, but I think I'm getting better. My voice isn't as close to the microphone. Hopefully it sounds better, Nikki. And Ashita, hopefully this kind of dives into some more of the different types of adversity. And I did just want to call attention to that, like, we were talking about before, or I was talking about to myself, there are various degrees of it, right? And everybody's journey is different. And the goal of this podcast is to really just help people be vulnerable and open and kind of take the stigma out of some of the struggles that we all go through, because it's all human. All right, well, I talked to Nikki about my sign off, and she agreed that I can kind of just give it a go for my 17 Spotify followers and see how cheesy I can get. Improvise for my closing sign off. So here we go. And with that, my friends, I'm going to close out this episode of Adventures and Adversity, an inspirational podcast with Brie Wilson on the mic. All right, the message for Tuesday. The next time you encounter adversity, you know what you can do? Log back onto this podcast and look through one of my 3 episodes. And that is really going to get you going. Oh, Nikki, that was bad. I got to bring my A game next time. Oh, man. See, now the pressure's on. All right. The next episode will be funny. The exit will be better. I promise. All right, guys. Have a wonderful week. I'm going to finish recording here. And because I don't know a lot about podcasting, I don't know how to edit all of that out. So thanks for tuning in. We're lining up some guests. I promise I won't be talking at you forever. And this is the longest closing of my life. Have an awesome week. Face your fears. And that's all I have to say, peeps. Bye-bye.